disgraced Boris Johnson is facing a tough sanction from his own party for misleading Parliament over COVID rule-breaking. But some say it doesn't go far enough.
The Liberal Democrats are calling on Rishi Sunak to strip the former PM of his £115,000 yearly allowance. The party's leader, Sir Ed Davies, says anything less is an insult to the British public, and he joins us live from south-west London. This is something that all Prime Ministers get to help run their office, don't they, after they've stopped being Prime Minister. Liz Truss was only a Prime Minister for some 40 days, and she gets it. Why should Boris Johnson be the person to lose it?
Well, no Prime Minister ever before has misled Parliament in the way that Boris Johnson has done. He is now a disgraced former Prime Minister. This cross-party committee, the Privilege Committee, no Liberal Democrat MP on it, it was Labour and majority Conservative, found that he lied on many occasions on really important issues and has brought real sadness and distress to tens of thousands of families who were bereaved during COVID. And I think this is a very serious matter. And that's why I think while the committee has done a good job within its ability to sanction the Prime Minister, I think it's now up to Rishi Sunak to speak for the families, the bereaved families, and say that this £115,000 a year allowance for life should not go to Boris Johnson. And if he's got office costs, he should pay them himself.
So what you're saying then, Sir Davies, is that despite everything else that he did in office, which people could look at and say that was a huge success, regardless of your politics, the vaccine rollout, his leadership when it comes to Ukraine, people will talk about the fact that he finally got Brexit done, whichever side of that debate you on, he did make that happen. Regardless of all the things he actually achieved, when the weights and measured are all assessed, what he has managed, what's happened now, outweighs all of those positives.
Well, two things. I don't agree there are any positives. His trade deal was a disaster.
The vaccine rollout. Well, let's talk about the vaccine rollout. Sir Ed Davies, what about the vaccine rollout?
Okay,
what about his leadership with Ukraine?
Well, let's talk about both those issues. On the vaccine rollout, it was amazing scientists who should take the credit, not Boris Johnson. It was amazing NHS who should take the credit, not Boris Johnson. And on Ukraine, let's remember that this is cross-party agreement. Liberal Democrats, Labour Party, the SNP, every party in Parliament has supported the government policy to really help Ukraine. So I don't think we can give Boris Johnson the personal credit that some of his supporters in the press want to do that. And therefore, you've got to judge him, I think, in the round. And I don't think he's made huge achievements. In fact, I think it's been very damaging for our country. But on the specifics of frankly, the series of lies that he told the British people and Parliament, he has to be held to account for that. Rishi Sunak, when he became Prime Minister, said on the doorsteps of Number 10, do you remember him? He said he wants to restore integrity and accountability to British government. We agree with that, Liberal Democrats agree with that, but he's not doing that. Boris Johnson has to be held properly to account. And then, by the way, we need to get on and deal with the issues that matter to British people. The cost of living, mortgages going up, food prices, energy prices, the NHS crisis. These are the issues that Parliament needs to be focused on. We need to sanction Boris Johnson and consign him to the past.
Well, you know, on Monday, MPs will have a chance to vote. Rishi Sunak hasn't said whether he will be attending or not. If he doesn't attend, what does that signal to you? And if he does attend, what does that signal to?
Well, if he can't even attend to ensure there's accountability that he wanted for the former Prime Minister, then it's a huge sign of weakness. If he attends, he's only doing his job, frankly, like the rest of us, to follow this very detailed report, cross-party report produced by a Conservative-dominated committee. He should support that. That's about democracy working properly, holding leaders to account, making sure that there isn't one rule for them and another rule for the rest of us. So Rishi Sunak really should attend and should vote with the rest of us to hold Boris Johnson to account. I just hope that we can have a short debate, because it's so obvious what should happen. should vote the report, and then we should start debating the issues that matter. Liberal Democrats have put forward today a proposal for an emergency mortgage protection fund to help those people who would have their homes repossessed if there's not a bit of help, like there used to be. We want to put forward ideas to help people with the cost of living crisis, our proposals to improve our NHS. But we've got this Conservative psychodrama because the Conservative Party is in such crisis over this disgraced former Prime Minister. Surely they should wake up, consign him to the history books, give him the proper sanction, and then get on and do the job of looking after the British people.
There's been some criticism angled at some of the members on the committee being biased before the committee sat in the first place. They'd been quite outspoken about their thoughts about Boris Johnson, and that's sort of criticism that's been resonating this morning. But also there's been an accusation that one of the members of the committee, Bernard Jenkins, was actually at a Lockdown gathering as well. He's been allegedly suggested that he also broke the rules. Do you think there should be an investigation into whether he did actually do that? And, you know, does that undermine this committee and its value?
Well, I don't know enough about the Bernard Jenkins allegations. He should be held to account like any MP should be held to account if he broke the rules. MPs should never be above the rules. In fact, they should set an example. And if Mr Jenkins hasn't, then he should face the consequences.
I don't think, however, and if he is found to have broken those rules, though, Sir Ed Davey, he was sitting in judgment over Boris Johnson. Surely that undermines his position on that committee and what the committee has found.
No, it doesn't. He should face accountability. Boris Johnson should face accountability. The evidence that was put before that committee was detailed. They took their job very seriously, and it's a proper process. People from all political parties, including Conservatives. Remember, Bernard Jenkins is a Conservative Brexiteer, so you know you can't imagine that he was that much against Boris Johnson. So you know, I think there's an attempt by some of the Johnson supporters to try to let him wriggle out. The British people don't want that. He should be held to account, and then we should move on, please. I don't know what all your viewers are thinking, but I'm thinking they're worried about their food bills, their energy bills, their rent, their mortgages, whether they can get a GP appointment, would the ambulance turn up if they need it. You know, our country has never been so badly governed. We're in a cost of living crisis, we're in a health crisis. And we need the Conservative government to sort itself out. Consign this disgraced former Prime Minister, sanction him properly, and get on and do your job. That's what I say to the Conservative government. Otherwise, call a general election and we'll just get rid of you.
OK.
Well, you said you want to know what the viewers are thinking. We're going to give them a chance to do that in just a moment. Sir Ed Davey, thanks very much indeed. We're going to be talking about it, aren't we?
Yeah, debating the point that Sir Ed Davey was saying there.